Okay,
Are you doing tic-tac-toe?
call this meeting to order, and we will start with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Scott. Nedrow.
Here.
Sinkwitz.
Here.
McGee.
Here.
Maggie.
Here.
Wozniacki.
Here.
Humble.
Here.
Mr. President, Mr. Scott is out of town and unable to attend the meeting tonight.
Motion, do we excuse Mr. Scott?
Second.
Motion Nedrow, second Kaznecki. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Correspondence?
None.
Additions to business?
None.
None. Brings us right to the first call to the public, an opportunity for citizens to address the council on agenda items. Seeing none, we shall move on to the next item. We're gonna get through this one in record time.
Maybe an hour and a half?
Sit down.
We aren't, there's a big agenda today, but. Okay, so that brings us to item 7, candidates for office. When anybody who is appearing on the ballot as a candidate has a chance to speak. In fact, we've got a few folks up here, so I will call on candidates. Let me start back there.
All right, Mike Stack,
Oh,
701 Lee.
let's get you a microphone for
Okay.
No better than
our massive internet audience.
Mike Stack, 701 Laguna, and looking forward to an opportunity to serve the people of Wolverine Lake once again.
Thank you. Anybody else out in the audience? All right. Ed, I think you had a.
I'm Ed Sinkwitz, 41 years a resident, elected in 1985 and served as president or president pro tem through those years. Recently, I instigated the idea to finish the Glengarry South Commerce pathway in lieu of a 4-foot wide shoulder along South Commerce. Also, the selling of village property on South Commerce for plus or minus $500,000. The village office needed repairs. We all know this. But to visually change the exterior with pillars and false facades to the tune of plus or minus $400,000 was unacceptable and unnecessary to me. Our fund balance is in good shape. I propose to council, when able, to give back to our tax-paying residents some financial relief, possibly deductions in our leaf pickup fees. We must seriously look into our own regional water system. Currently, the Detroit Water Department is planning a 4% raise for the next 10 years. Not only their facility, but their infrastructure is archaic. I'm a common sense guy, make decisions that are based on what is best for Wolverine Lake Village and its residents. I'm Ed Sinkwitz, and I'm asking for your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Any of my fellow council folk on the ballot have anything? All right, I will mention, I'm on the ballot too, and I'd like your vote. Anybody else, candidates for office? Ron declined. So,
I think my record speaks for itself.
Pat?
I'm not running.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Thanks anyway. No,
Well, you can't talk for a couple more
more
years,
years.
at least on this item.
yeah.
Okay, seeing no further, let's move to item 8, approval of consent agenda. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Sinkowitz, second Nagy. Discussion? Roll call vote.
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Maggie.
Yep.
Wozniacki.
Yes.
Humble.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries. With no public hearings scheduled, that brings us to, gosh darn it, one of the best items we've had on the agenda for a while. Presentation of Police Officer Awards. I'm going to turn it over to Captain Ellsworth.
Thank you, Mr. McGee.
Microphone.
We're going to try to do something a little bit different.
Oh, okay.
Flip these around so we can stay up front here with everybody. And you're right, this is one of my favorite times of the year because I get to recognize well-deserved work on behalf of the officers of the Village of Wolverine Lake. First order of business, I'd like to call Sergeant Cunningham up here. This is on, it's going to be filed under the better late than never. You stand right over here. On Sunday morning, December 16, 2012, at approximately 2 a.m., the Commerce Fire Department was dispatched to 3636 Sandbar in the Lake Sherwood subdivision on a report of a structure fire with 2 people trapped upstairs. Hearing the critical nature of the call, Sergeant Cunningham and Officer Mike Hergott responded to assist. Because of the intense heat and smoke present, the occupants were not able to exit down the stairwell. Sergeant Cunningham and Officer Mike Hergott were among the first to arrive and obtained a ladder that allowed them to gain access to the rear roof line on the 2nd floor and assist with removing the occupants of the now engulfed home. Because of Sergeant Cunningham and Officer Hergott's quick response and actions, both of the occupants were safely rescued and no loss of life occurred. Congratulations, Sergeant Cunningham, on your life-saving award, and we look forward to many more years of your success. And since you've heard this story already, I'm not going to repeat that, but I would like to have Officer Mike Hergott join us up here. And he is also receiving a life-saving award. Officer Hergott no longer works for the department, but I felt it was important to bring him back and make sure he got his achievement. Thank you very much. Next in line is going to be Officer Jessica Keller. Please come up here and join me, please. On April 23rd, 2013, approximately 7 p.m., Officer Keller received information regarding a sexual assault involving juveniles that occurred over a period of 2 years. Officer Keller performed an extensive investigation, including taking trips to the Michigan Department of Correction prisons to interview the suspect, who was incarcerated on other charges. By her own initiative and investigative skills, Officer Keller was able to build a very strong case, resulting in the perpetrator having no choice but to be found guilty on 6 counts of criminal sexual conduct and being sentenced to 50 to 100 years in prison on each count. His earliest release date is 2063. Officer Keller took a very delicate and sensitive situation and brought it to the best conclusion possible. For her outstanding investigative skills and persistence to see this case through, Officer Keller is receiving a department citation for case 13-706. Thank you very much, Officer Keller. I'm going to have Officer Ken Ayers join me up here. Officer Ken Ayers of the Wolverine Lake Police Department is receiving a department citation for his actions on September 25th, 2014 at approximately 11 p.m. Officer Ayers was on routine patrol in the village of Wolverine Lake near the Laguna Vista subdivision when he heard squealing tires coming from the Glengarry Laguna Street area. Officer Ayers positioned his patrol vehicle near the area in an attempt to locate the violator. A short time later, Officer Ayers observed 2 vehicles exiting the Hickory Glen Park at a high rate of speed. Officer Ayers performed traffic stop on the vehicles and called for assistance. Simultaneously, the Oakland County Sheriff's Department dispatch began to advise our units of a stolen vehicle that had just occurred from Manzano Drive in the village of Wolverine Lake. Officer Ayers realized that the description of the vehicle matched the one reported stolen and took appropriate action. Both occupants of the stolen vehicle were arrested, and the vehicle was returned to the owner within minutes of it being reported stolen. For his quick actions and keen sense of awareness, Officer Ayers is receiving a department citation regarding 14-1725, the stolen and recovered auto report. Thank you, sir. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank
Don't go too far.
Thank you, and congratulations to all of you. All right, brings us to our next item, also on police, request from Captain Ellsworth to hire 1 temporary part-time police officer. So let's, I think if we can get you the mic back there.
Well, I'm just gonna say that we have a situation where Officer Keller is gonna be leaving us for a while. It's a temporary situation, and due to that, I was contacted by Officer McGee, and it seemed to be a right fit to be able to bring Officer McGee back for a limited time. Many things played out just perfectly to be able to allow him to come back. The limited amount of hours that he's eligible to work since he's been retired is going to work out just about right. So with great sense of relief and pride, I'm glad to have Officer McGee back amongst us.
All right.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that, based on the information given to us by our police chief, that he be allowed to hire one temporary part-time officer. And that would be Robert McGee at this time.
Yeah, second that motion.
Motion Sinkowitz, second Nagy. Further discussion? Yes, the timing could not have worked out better. Sorry to lose you for a while, but for the best of reasons. Have you back. Anybody else? Anything else? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome back. Let's swear you back in.
I do not have the book with me, so I'm going to have to swear you in tomorrow. Someone did give me the book, but thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Oh, really? Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
All right, brings us to item C, Walled Lake School millage. I believe we have Ken Gutman, the superintendent of Walled Lake Schools, here to speak about it.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad the officers are staying until I get on the road. It means a lot to me. I'll be good. I'm just kidding. Thank you, Captain Ellsworth. I do want to spend just a moment. I know you've probably seen that we are having another millage election this year. This is our first time in 10 years with this type of renewal. I'll probably say renewal 3-4 times, just so everyone's just aware. This is how we operate our schools. This renewal is basically to make us whole. So in the past, when we have a bond election, a sinking fund election, those elections are to provide enhancements, whether they're safety, security, updates, renovations. This is strictly our operating budget. So if this passes, we get to spend what we're currently spending. If it doesn't pass, we need to make up a $30 million shortfall, which is about 20% of our budget. Not a scare tactic, just a reality. And I think most people, there's no known opposition, which always frightens me. But the reality is it's a gubernatorial election. People are focused on the front of the ballot. I'm not sure where you are on the ballot. Hopefully you're on the back with us. And hopefully people start at the back and work their way towards the governor. But ultimately, it's a really important election for our district. We have a ton of information on our website. Should you have trouble sleeping at night, there's a great video that we put together. But it's anything you'd like to know about this election, we have a lot on our website. And I'm certainly welcome to give me a call anytime. I appreciate the opportunity just to share this with you.
All right, thanks. Any questions from council? No, I think it's pretty clear. It's something I support, so.
Well, thank you. Thanks. I
it's,
appreciate it.
It's a renewal. We need it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, brings us to item D, reports and recommendations from Engineer Powell. Let's start with the crack sealing program.
That's a good one to start with because it's the easiest.
We should
As
really
council knows, every year we try to do a crack sealing program so that we can seal the roads up, but all the little cracks that develop in the roads prior to it raining in the fall, and then that rain gets underneath the pavement and freezes. If we can keep that water out from underneath the road, it really protects our roadways and keeps them from deteriorating much faster than they normally could. We do this each year. We have somewhere between about a $10,000 budget for this. We keep it underneath the budget each year. So I'm requesting, if it's the council's pleasure, to allow us to crack seal the roadways again this year in the village at a price of 49 cents per lineal foot. I do want to mention that it's only about 3 cents higher than it was last year, which is really a very good price. And for some reason, the same product and everything, A&R seal coating is substantially less than the other two. Same product and everything, so they just want to stay in the good graces of the village. So I recommend that A&R be awarded the contract if council so desires.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
So, motion to award the contract to A&R Seal Coating at 49 cents per linear foot as presented.
I'll second.
So, motion Sinkowitz, second Kaznecky. Further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Powell, that 49 cents, I mean, there's $1.24. How can there be that much difference in price? And how can they make any money on it unless the other guys are making a ton of money? And that's one question. The
Yes.
second part of the question is, I know you do a follow-up to watch these guys and what they do, but I can tell you from my walks around my neighborhood, I don't think they touched Angola last year, okay? And it really looked bad. They'll go ahead and there's a crack here, and there's 2 foot, there's another crack, and they miss it and go on to the next crack. They don't get all the cracks like they should be. I mean, these guys, they get it done in a hurry. I just concerned that at 49 cents a foot that we're getting really a good job for it, okay?
Your first question, the answer to it is that I believe that the other two contractors are extremely busy, and therefore, if they get the price for that, they'll be more than happy to do that. Remember that last year, we actually had 2 prices within 5 cents of each other, and this is, the lowest bid is 3 cents higher than our price we did it for last year. So I think they're looking to rearrange their schedule if they can make a good profit, the other two, and if not, they don't mind. Your other question was, normally I walk the roadways, and I say start here and end there, and I only do certain roadways because I start with the newest roads and work backwards to protect our newest roads. So I'm not sure what happened on Angola.
I mean, they go
but,
down Indiana, but they didn't go down Angola. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it's all been paved about the same time.
Yeah,
So-
then it was an error, certainly, and I'll check on Angola this year.
But my concern is, like I said, they don't hit every crack. I mean, if there's 2 or 3 cracks in a row, they may hit 1 out of 3, or they won't hit every one. It's the same crack, I mean, the same cracks. That's my concern, that they went down my street, they were gone. I mean, it's that they're in and out that fast.
Yeah, that's very odd, because they're paid by the lineal foot, so it doesn't
Yeah, I
make
know
any
that.
difference whether they start or stop on the same
Is
street.
it lineal
so-
foot of the seal coat they put down, or lineal foot of road?
No, it's lineal foot of seal coat they put down, which is very odd. So I can think of no reason why they would do one and miss the next one on the
I've
same
seen it
roadway.
a lot in my neighborhood.
Okay.
Point of interest, when we started this whole program years ago, the whole idea, some roads are so cracked in Alligator that you could spend the whole budget on one road.
Right.
The idea is those big, long lateral cracks that go down, that go up. But once you see a road starting to break up where there's those little squares that are 2 to 4 inches, that road needs to be resurfaced, replaced, or repaired.
Right.
Crack sealing's not gonna do any good. So ideally, I know anyway, what I've seen in my area, in Oakview and that area and on the island, they seem to get the major cracks and the other ones, like Laguna. Laguna is due for a paving. It's been due for paving for a couple of years. So crack sealing that is really just throwing money away, but, you know, possibly they miss one here and there, but the ideal is to get the major cracks on their newer roads, and like Mr. Powell said, work backwards.
Well, I would certainly recommend if, as you walk around after the crack sealing, you see anything,
I'm a little confused about Ed's concern whether, but maybe, are you suggesting that we are wasting money by doing Laguna? And then,
No.
wait, hold on a second, then secondly, for Mr. Nagy, is your concern with the contractor or more with the engineering oversight?
Well, I mean, I guess it could be, I guess it could be 6 of one, half of the other. Okay, because, I mean, as far as the coating that they put down and the follow-up to make sure it's done right. So I guess it's a little bit of both, okay?
This is a different contractor than did it last year. The contractor that did it last year decided not to bid this year, so it is a different
Let's see
contractor.
if it's gonna be better.
And Ed was exactly correct. When you see alligatoring and the road breaking up, we don't
I
even
can
do those
understand
roads.
that, but
Right.
I'm talking about, you know, if there's a long crack across
Yeah.
the road and another 2 foot down, there's another long crack, it's not the alligator.
Yeah, that
Like
would
they
be-
didn't get it, okay?
That would be odd. That's
Okay,
a
so-
mistake.
That's, I don't know if I answered your question, Ron, but I think it was a little bit of both. Okay.
Further discussion on the motion? Roll call vote.
Manning.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGee. Nagy.
Yeah.
Kaznecki.
Yes.
Trumbo.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
All right, item 2, HG Sarter pay estimate in the amount of $600 for saw cutting.
All
And
right.
actually, let me make sure I understand what's presented here. We have $600 to HG Sarter, and then we also have a recommendation to ask JJM Backhoe to grind down at $300 per hour. So we've got really
That
two
is-
things here.
That is correct. $300 total, not.
$300
That's not to
total.
exceed $300. It was an hourly not to exceed $300.
Okay, so,
Um,
go ahead.
So, thank you, Mr. President. This is, when the project was, before it was actually paved, I was very concerned about paving up to behind the curb there at Glengarry Road and South Commerce Road. We only have curb on the south side of the roadway, and it would have been unfortunate to have paved the way it was and had a big 6-inch drop coming down to the pavement. People would have had to get off their bicycles, come up over the curb, and place them back on the pathway on the south side of the pathway. So H.D. Sarter contracted with their saw cutting company, Cougar Saw Cutting, and has actually cut that right out if you've already seen it. And now it's smooth enough to be able to run a bicycle and/or a wheelchair on our rampway all the way across Glengarry Road. And so I'm asking for approval for $600 to pay Sarter, and then it's a technical reason, but they couldn't set the saw down low enough to the pavement because of the curvature in the roadway. And so JJM has to go in with another saw and kind of chafe off or grind down the edge of where Cougar Saw Cutting left it. So I am looking for a total payment of $900, up to $900, $600 to Cougar, or I'm sorry, $600 to H.E. Sarter, and up to $300 for JJM.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion to, the saw cutting to not to exceed $900.
Support. Motion Sikowitz, second Nedrow. Further discussion?
Mike,
Yes, sir.
when Cougar came to saw cut that, when they realized they couldn't cut it low enough, was there a choice to either cut what you can and we'll fix the rest, or get a different machine in there?
Well, they did. They came to me, they set all up, and they told me they were going to end up leaving 1.5 to 2 inches of gutter pan or top of curb there. Knowing that it was going to cost somewhere between about $1,500 to actually replace the curbing later, I gave them authority to saw cut it down, knowing that I was going to have to grind off the front half of that curb. So it was really a financial decision to do that, and I believe that we saved ourselves about $800 to do it this way instead of removing the curb.
Was it possible just to make 2 straight cuts on the curb and then break that curb out of there and then replace it with either asphalt or another curb?
No, it wasn't possible because when they saw cut horizontally, their back end of the blade, remember it's about a 18-inch blade, their back end of the blade was cutting the pavement of the roadway
Right.
itself to keep it horizontal. And
Okay.
so there was no possible way to do it any other way.
All right, thank you.
Mike, do we have to do this grinding in any other handicap, make any other area thing ADA compliant?
Great question. No, this is the only curb that the entire pathway crossed.
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Nagy.
Yes.
Kaznecki.
Yes.
Trumbo.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes. Okay, H.G. Sarter pay estimate in the amount of $32,060 for pathway paving.
This is very straightforward. My letter is fairly self-explanatory. Hopefully, council has been able to walk the pathway, or certainly seen the pathway that's been done. We ended up with 2 areas that I held them back from actually doing. There's an area up at the pump station up on South Commerce Road, just south of Heron Hills. That manhole needs some more work done to it. And so therefore, instead of putting a new asphalt all the way around that manhole and then ripping it all back out again. I stopped that paver short so we didn't have to, for no other reason, have people look at us taking out new pavement. The other section is in front of the Village Hall here. In talking with the contractor, he needs to get loads of material in for working on this building. He was going to be cutting back and forth across that pavement. I didn't want to just leave a 10 or 15-foot section of pavement out. It would always look like a patch. Therefore, the contractor agreed to come back in 2 weeks and actually do the balance of the area in front of the Village Hall, all the way from driveway to the west to our driveway here to the east, so it makes it look like an entire completed section. The area in the Vita Trail, going from the Vita Trail pavement or the parking area to the actual exercise, that was all prepared, ready to go, and unfortunately there was a problem in the plant, and so they weren't able to make enough mix for him, and so we left that area undone as well. Instead of changing mixes, we left that area undone as well so that we could do it all at the same time when he comes back out. So those 3 areas need to be done, but otherwise, I believe that H.D. Sarter deserves payment of $32,060. And that's less the 5% that I'm retaining for any miscellaneous pickup and little repairs that he has to do on what he's done so far.
All right, so that means if we're about 90% done now, we're probably going to get another $3,000 or $4,000 worth of paving.
That is correct.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to pay the invoice in the amount of $32,060?
So moved.
Support.
Motion Nedrow, second Sinkowitz. Further discussion?
Yes, do we have any, I don't know if Mike or Sharon can answer, do we have any funds put on the side to stripe when we get done, the road?
Right.
Yeah, you know, the pathway?
Where it goes across the roads?
Well, no, not across the road, but along the side of the shoulders.
Oh.
Certainly, the treasurer can address whether or not we have enough funds. As council knows, we've already paid PK Painting or Striping Company to stripe elsewhere in the village. With no problem, and they told me they'd be glad to come back out. We have a price for them. I haven't gotten with Mike to find out if we're in budget, but typically we want a double white line adjacent to the pathway between the white line on the edge of the road and then our pathway. That has not been purchased yet, and I have to get with the treasurer regarding that.
Okay, as long as we're thinking about it.
Yep.
Mike, what about what's the status of the little bridge over our little creek over there on South Commerce? Now that we got paving on both sides, and we got orange barrels there.
I was going to make a joke about people just needing a bath or something, but that'd be bad. Got word today, email from the DEQ. The permit for that bridge was granted yesterday. Should be in the mail, so we can go out for bids for that bridge.
That's something we plan on getting in.
Still plan on doing it this fall yet. Yes, that's correct.
And we're just gonna, I'll go out for bids, so it's a total separate contractor.
Its own separate contractor. I didn't want to tie that to the paving contractor. He would have just had to tack on percentages. So I'll be bringing, hopefully, that back to you in November's council meeting for authorization to build that.
I think we have the motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Chesnecki?
Yes.
Trumbo?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Sinkowitz?
Yes.
Yes.
Nagy?
Yes.
All right, item 4, JJM Backhoe Service. Pay estimate in the amount of $400 for culvert work.
So moved. Oh, I'm sorry.
Ah, well, let's get the motion as long as we got it. So we've got
He's having fun.
motion
I was
Sinkowitz.
gonna give you a
Do I
break.
have a second?
I'm ready to sit down.
$400, I was gonna give you a break.
Do I have a second? Second, Nedrow. Further discussion?
I would like to just share with council precisely what this is. The pathway was designed between the Village Hall and Marchar, and it was designed to actually be the ditch line, to carry water all the way from our parking lot, off the roadway, down to the Marchar catch basins. When we actually laid that out, we had too much of a slope from our driveway down to Marchar. So I got with Jeff and he gave us a price for $400. The DPW or the village donated the piping, but there's actually a pipe now between the village parking lot all the way down to the catch basin in Marchar that's cut into the catch basin in Marchar, so we're no longer going to have all that water running down the pathway. Eventually, I'd like to recommend to council, through Sharon, of course, that we build a catch basin there where all three pipes come together just at the corner of our driveway. That'll clean that whole area up. Don't think it's necessary now, but sometime in the future, we'd like to close all that, and now this pipe allows us to do that.
All right. Any further discussion? Can we get a roll call vote?
Humble.
Yes.
Renfro.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Maggie.
Yes.
Yes, Becky.
Yes.
All right, item 5, JJM backhoe pay estimate in the amount of $17,875 for pathway work.
This is right off of the quotes from JJM, and it was authorized by council. We're just requesting you to authorize payment now to JJM.
All right, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Support. Motion Sikowitz, second Nedrow, to pay estimate in the amount of $17,875 to JJM backhoe service for pathway work. Further discussion?
I have a question, Mr. President, and Mike. I've noticed a couple times when I've been driving down Glengarry that there's a path, or there's an area of the pathway around Tampa where there's the pathway and then there's a pretty straight vertical cut off of the dirt, and then, you know, the grass is up here. Is anything going to be done to finish that off, or is it just going to be left dirt like that? Or?
No, most definitely. And at the end of this discussion, I'm going to request council to authorize us to do a little bit of landscaping. There's some areas along the pathway that need some additional work. If you look to the east from that a little bit more,
Yeah.
or to the west of it, I forget, the homeowner actually decided to build a retaining wall.
Yeah, I saw
Okay.
that.
So we worked with him.
Okay.
We left it exactly the way he wanted.
All right.
He actually built that wall himself as part of the pathway project, and we paved up against it.
Okay.
Great look. It's kind of the concept that we're looking to do there. Unfortunately, we don't have a homeowner willing to do that himself, theirself. I've been in contact with that homeowner. Until the pathway was in, I just didn't know precisely how steep that embankment would be. My thought was to just steepen that embankment up and seed it. Unfortunately, then it gets so steep, you're really doing it by a hand whip or grass whip. I'm thinking either a retaining wall like the neighbor did, and we have somebody that's willing to donate the blocks to be able to do that, or railroad ties, or boulders. Boulders we'd have to buy. So I haven't thought how to finish that off yet. But there's a lot of areas that need a little TLC landscaping along the way that I'd like JJ&M to be authorized to do under a certain budget. But yes, that has to be finished off yet.
Okay. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't forgotten about.
It'd be nice if we made it consistent with the neighboring one there, so it looks like,
Unified.
looks sort of like uniform, okay?
It would be nice, but we'd have to actually buy those blocked like he did instead of maybe a donation. So I can actually work through Sharon to have her know what those prices would be to build a wall
I just think
exactly
for
like that.
Consistency and uniformity, I think it looked nicer.
All right.
That's my
Appreciate
opinion. How much more work does JJM now have to do? I mean, what we're paying him here, I know there's another invoice follow-up on it, but.
He's 100%
100%?
based upon the contract with him.
All right.
But we'll be doing another 300 for the grinding down there.
Not 300, just 10 little feet, $300 worth.
Yeah,
Up to that.
$300 worth.
Right.
Right. Any further discussion on motion to pay JJM $17,875? Roll call vote.
Renfro.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Maggie.
Yes.
Kazmaki.
Yes.
Humble.
Yes.
All right. Item 6, JJM backhoe service, pay estimate in the amount of $22.89.
These are just miscellaneous little things that during the construction had to be done outside of the scope of work of JJ&M. It was done under my direct guidance and authorization. It virtually, it had to be done in order to do the pathway properly. And so I'd be more than willing to discuss any of these that you might have questions on. But otherwise, I'm recommending payment for $2,289 for the 13 extra items that JJ&M had to do once he started construction on the project.
Anybody got questions on any of the listed items?
Is there a motion already in?
There is not yet a
place?
motion. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion. I was looking forward to the discussion, actually, so yeah, I'll make the motion that we pay.
Okay. Motion Cumbo, second Sinkowitz to pay JJM 2289. Ron?
The itemized costs, are those like hourly costs? or
They are hourly costs.
Based on what rate? It doesn't
Based-
clarify that, does
yeah,
it?
based upon his at $50 an hour is what he charges the village.
And these times, I mean, you weren't there for all these hours, but it's reasonable? in your opinion?
It's very,
I mean,
very, very,
hours-wise,
yes.
the rate is-
And
yeah.
quite frankly, I did inspect while he was doing all of these. He would call me and we'd discuss how it was going to be done. Keep in mind that the number 11, that $960
Yeah.
was actually authorized by council at the last meeting to put that new pathway in. So that's the largest ticket item. The rest are very, very generous, and quite frankly, he's donating a great deal of time to the village.
Which we appreciate. That's the one we're waiting on, the better mix from the
Correct.
asphalt plant.
That'll be done the same time the path in front of the village hall is done.
Further discussion on the motion?
I'd just like to make a comment that being retired and around here and watching a lot, he really did a heck of a job. Put in a lot of time, long hours, a lot of time he was by himself, and hard worker and a talented worker. I thank him for his services.
All right. Any further discussion? Roll call vote?
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Maggie.
Yes.
Kaznecki.
Yes.
Cumbo.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
So I almost
All
lost my
right.
voice there for a minute.
That's the path. And I do concur with Ed. It's a darn good job in there. Okay, brings us to the next item, ACS Build Inc., application for payment. Progress billing number 3, 875.
Council, this is the pay request number 3, and as can be seen on the materials hopefully you received, it is a request for $87,875. Approximately $160,000 worth of work has been completed. We are withholding $7,000, a little more than $7,000 as a retainage on the work completed thus far. They have been paid $65,000 to date, leaving a current balance due of the $87,000. This is for the miscellaneous work on the village hall, and they supplied a tremendous amount of backup information. So if you have any questions on any of it, I'd be glad to answer it, or try to.
All right. Just to be clear, this 87,875 also includes the items in ACS change orders 2, 3, 7, 10, 13, 15, 16, and I believe we also have number 17 up here.
It does not, and
Does
so
not.
I want to take those separate. This is
Okay.
just the pay request.
So this is the pay request on the basic work.
That is correct.
Got it. Do I hear a motion to pay to ACS Build Inc. 87,875?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Nedrow, second Kaznecki. Further discussion? I do want to mention, I know we've had on this project, because there was opposition to doing the project. We as a council did decide to go forward with the project. And at
Absolutely.
this point, this is paying the contractor for work done on behalf of the village and authorized by the council. So, I understand the unhappiness of a few members with having it here, but we've got it.
Are we in discussion about that?
We are now in
actually?
discussion about the.
I want to comment about that too. I was very disappointed last meeting when members of the council that are part of a body that enters into a binding contract and then unilaterally votes that not honor it, I think is being, I don't know how to put this, but disingenuous, I guess, for starters, and more or less political grandstanding and wasting the rest of our time, frankly, and I was very disappointed about it. And those two members that voted that way last month, and I hope they don't vote that way this month. Because there's, to be part of a body that has agreed to a contract and then refused to pay for it, it's pretty low. And that's my opinion. And that's how I view this discussion about paying these bills that we have agreed to pay ahead of time.
All right, well, we have moved on to a new month, so
Yep.
we'll see what the vote brings here, but let's talk about the work done. Anything?
I don't have anything else to add. It's just a progress payment, and they're looking to be done with the project in the first couple weeks of December, and so we're looking for this to continue, and we'll go into the change orders in the next discussion item.
I can make a couple of comments if I could. One of them to Mr. Cumbo, I mean, I didn't support it from day one, and just because I didn't support it from day one doesn't mean I have to approve all the invoices. Okay, as long as the majority passes, it's done. All right, that's my opinion, all right? And the second thing I had asked for, I see we have in front of us a schedule. Boy, it really took them a lot to get a rough schedule together. I mean, if I hadn't seen this schedule, I don't think we should have paid any invoices, period, okay, without a schedule. I asked Mr. Donahoe that, I talked to Mr. Powell about it, for them to put a $400,000 project together, not issue a project schedule, that's poor management on their part, okay? Thank you.
Mr. President, being the one that's being pointed out here, I guess I am the one who is probably the most adamant about the project and the unhappiness about this structure being created here in our community at such an enormous cost. I can abstain from voting, but I don't know how it would look to make statements and be so verbal against it and then turn around and, yeah, pay for it, pay for it, pay for it, pay for it. To me, it's kind of like, I don't know, not holding to my original feelings and matters in this. I understand the situation, but I guess I don't know if it's I'm trying to make a point or a statement that I was very disappointed that that project went through in such magnitude, and I'm probably still going to vote that same way.
Okay. And Ed, I think you have every right to make a statement before we pay one of these invoices to say, you oppose the project, you wish this invoice wasn't here. But I think as a village, we are obliged to pay these invoices, and I think that's our responsibility on council. And, it may just be that we disagree on that, but I feel pretty strongly about that.
Yeah, Mr. President, I can appreciate what you're saying, but I mean, if Mr. Sienkiewicz and we didn't support it from day one, that doesn't mean we have to support paying the invoices regardless. I mean, it's a majority votes, okay, so if it's 7-2 or 6-2, they're gonna get paid anyhow. I mean,
No,
it's just,
John's not here, and if you and I vote against it, it won't get paid because you need 5, right?
It's a budgeted item, so I don't think we needed to pay the
I think you've already
invoice.
approved it.
It's
This is
already-
just a payment.
Right, this is
The
just a
contract
payment
you've
on it.
already approved.
We've already approved it with a vote of
That's
5.
right.
So for just a simple payment, I think we only need a majority.
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
You've
Okay.
already approved this
Yep.
expenditure.
Well, that makes my decision easier.
Yeah, but I share John's views too, that, as part of this body, you make a commitment to be part of this governing body, and then the governing body as a unit makes a decision to purchase something, whether it's redoing the building or buying a harvester or buying a police vehicle, whatever. And then to say, because then it comes time to pay for it, well, I'm not gonna pay for it, I want to just make my point yet again. It's just childish. It's useless and
what he
childish, in my opinion.
Okay, I'm glad
And I
that's
think,
your opinion.
Frank, hold on a second, please, Ed. I think it's nothing more than political grandstanding, and it just offends me as a member of this body. And I say the same thing to you, Pat. I feel the same way about both those votes. So,
Well,
you know how I feel about it.
you know, I just think that as a vote, it comes down to, should we pay this company for work they have
What they've
done
done.
on behalf
That's
of
right.
the village?
I agree
Did
with
they
that.
actually do the work? Did they enter into a contract with us? They entered into a contract, they did the work. We as a village are obliged to pay it, and that's what I think that vote reflects. I'm perfectly willing, and you guys know I have entertained plenty of discussion in ongoing opposition to the construction project long after we decided to proceed with the construction project. But in terms of paying the invoice, it's a debt we have incurred jointly as a village. I think those guys did the work. I don't think they should get stiffed for it. So
I
that
agree
to
with
me
you,
is a
Jim.
yes
I
vote.
totally agree with that.
Well, on the other hand, if I vote no, they're still gonna get paid no matter how I vote, because the majority will rule. So it's not like somebody's not gonna get paid, and if someone else on council feels as strongly as I do, they're still gonna get paid. I mean, there's a lot of things that we do in here, the group of 7, where it'll be a 4-3 or a 5-2, vote.
Is this to make someone feel good about voting no? What if I vote? What if Brian and I vote no, whatever, hypothetically, and then it goes down? What position does that put the board in? It's not living up to your responsibility, in my opinion, as a council person. I don't care if you've been here for 50 years, Ed. It doesn't matter. The body has entered into a contract, a binding contract to remodel this building. Yes, you don't like it. So then it's almost like, I characterize it as a child pouting on the sidelines because he can't get in the game, or the game didn't go his way, he didn't get the position he wanted. I think it's laughable. But frankly, as part of the body, I find it offensive. And that's why I'm making a stink about it
Well, there's a
now.
lot of things I find offensive in this body too, but I
That-
keep
that
that
might-
to myself.
That might be. But we're talking about this particular
Okay.
thing right now.
I think further discussion at this point on that point is serving no further purpose. People have said their piece.
Okay.
Does anybody have any discussion about the actual work that was done? Seeing none, let's proceed to a roll call vote.
McGee,
Yes.
Maggie,
No.
Geznecki,
Yes.
Combo,
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
Deep breath.
I know. Well, believe me, nothing that Mr. Gumbo spilled out made my decision any different. But I think myself and Mr. Nagy have made our point quite soundly that a Taj Mahal this village did not need. And I still feel that way, but since the building is being done and the construction has started, with a heavy heart, I will vote yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, council. Thank you, Ed. I know that was not an easy vote for you. Matt, I'll work on you next month.
Fair enough.
Okay, motion carries. ACS change orders 2, 3, 7, 10, 13, 15, 16, and 17.
Actually, if you read my letter to council or to Sharon of October 3rd, it goes through every single change order that's been provided the village. And if you take a look at them, some of them are credits back to the village because of changes that were made to the building to save money. There are a number of changes, however, that require input from council to allow the work to proceed. So I had a summary of every single change order, 1 to 16. Hopefully you've had a chance to go through those, and I can address any one of those that you might have further questions on. I wanted to point out something. There is a change order 17 that was submitted after this that really just, if you were really into it and read down the summary chart that was provided in your packet as well. Item number 2, item number, let me get my bifocus to work properly. Item number 1 was the rework of the conference room roof line. In their change order number 1, they had quoted $1,585. They were off by $680 in their credit back to the village for that. We told them about that, and their change order number 17 credits back $680 for that item. So that's going to be a credit back, and that's why some of my numbers, and I pointed out in my paragraph after the change orders, that the total amount, I'm sorry.
Mike, was that $680 or $860?
I'm
You
sorry.
actually, you have those two change orders in front of you that I gave you with
Yeah.
the ACS. Actually, it's change order
$680.
17 and 18, Mike.
And 18 I'll get into in a
So
minute.
it's
yes.
680.
Right, so 17 refers back to number 1. You should have written on there the 860.
That's correct.
Right.
Okay, and that makes all the numbers in that chart work out and in my analysis. So that's 1 through 16, 17 taken care of.
Tell you what,
Yes.
let me run down the list of 1 through 17. I'll just call them
By
out.
all
We'll see if
means.
anybody has discussion points or questions about any of them. Redesign structure of the roof over the new conference room, change order number 1, and 17, saving $24.45. Number 2, details around the windows of the north elevation, saving $17.90. Number 3, quote to install the double set of doors in the archway upstairs, $3,032, adding $3,032. Number 4, not removing insulation and stucco and instead wrapping over it and adding stringers. Overall, cost savings of $1,900 and some additional insulation. Number 5, the exterior steel doors on the police drive, which were done as part of maintenance. Number 6, hardy board, that was our decision on factory versus field applied. Number 7, structure over the garage doors, again revised, savings of $1,114. Number 8, removing the piers in front of the police garage, $130. Number 9, deferring work on the new blinds until after the project's complete. Number 10, rerouting electrical service for the new addition. That one added $30,277.50. Number 11, putting the new ceiling in the police chief's office, no change in cost. Number 12, renovating the police chief's office. We could not reuse the existing door, had to put a new one in, $549.66. Number 13, upgrading the new entry door and framing with an improved commercial grade, adding $1,741.70. Number 14, adding the additional reinforcing steel into the piers for the columns in front of the building, adding $287.50. Number 15, the proposed change on the roof. It was inspected by the roofing contractor. Roofing contractor said it's fine as is and still under warranty, so that was not approved. And number 16, modifying the concrete cap above the stone walls to limestone. That adds $2,559. So those are the ones. Any questions about any of those?
I guess I have one question, maybe Mike's not maybe in a position to answer it, it might be more like the builder, but it's like rerouting the electrical is how it was described, that $3,200 or so
Mhm.
bill for this room. Rerouting electrical, what does that entail? What does that mean? Can you answer that, Mike? What does that entail?
The main electrical service came in the side of the building, right where the addition's going to be. And until they got into the actual rerouting of the electrical and the main lines, they had to reroute all the way around the addition and have a new meter location and route back into the existing panel. So that's how much of it was.
All right.
What about 17 and 18?
Okay, number 17 was getting the additional credit back for number 1.
Okay.
Number 18 is removing the rotted wood and plywood that was discovered under the stucco. So can you
That's
give us a quick
correct. And
summary
in
of
my second to the last paragraph, they had initially quoted me that it would be under $5,500. Since then, they provided that change order number 18, which really needs to be addressed. If you've been out and taken a look at that, it's a very obvious deterioration problem and rotting problem on the existing facility. That has to be repaired before they can put the hardy board over top of it. And that's their actual quote versus my estimate of $5,500, and they quoted, 49 something.
4473.
4473, thank you, change order number 18.
When I added, the net of the total changes excluding 16 or 17, 18, I hope my math is right. I came up with 492891. And on the call out, on the summary, it shows 406891.
Yes, that's because I had included the $680 into that as well in item number 1, so I included that in there. So I believe, if my math is correct, the total difference, including number 17, change order 17, is the $4,068.91.
Okay, the bottom lines match, so it probably does. But it's
Right.
interesting because on here, the original budget on the spreadsheet shows it's off by $200 only. And that $200 kind of carries through. Like, the original budget is for 383, 386. And on the analysis of the summary, it starts off with, it's like 383, 586. But that $200 difference kind of carries right through all the different changes.
Yes, it does, and quite frankly, I don't know where that $200 comes from, because the original price was $383, $386, and the new price at the bottom was $388, $314.91. That does not include, of course,
Changes
number
17 and
17.
18, yeah, correct.
And
Okay, that's-
18, yeah.
It includes 17, doesn't include 18.
My numbers include 17. Their chart did not include 17.
Okay, so that's,
That's, yeah.
Yes.
See,
That's
as I said,
the missing
the bottom line- The
860.
bottom line did match.
Correct.
right.
Matched the 388, well, less the $200 difference carried
Right.
through, that's what I'm saying. Because it's, like in the summary sheet, it has 388, 11491, and this is 31491.
Right.
So sort of. But we're approaching 17 and 18 separately, are we not? Or-
I think we can do them in a single motion.
All right.
I just wanted to make sure that we had a little bit of discussion around what that was for, because it wasn't called out specifically in the documentation that we got before the meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, it's probably, from my standpoint, it's probably a good thing we kind of went forward with a portion of this project because of what I see out front here with the rotting material. I mean, it wasn't going to be long before a lot of that was going to fall down on its own,
Yes.
really. So,
Something was going to need to be done.
mm-hmm.
So, we have before us the change orders. I would entertain a motion to accept and pay change orders number 1 through 17 for $4,689.91, and change order number 18 at a cost of $4,473.50. Do I hear that motion?
So moved.
Motion
Support.
Nedrow, second Cumbo. Further discussion. I would like to point out to council that because this is a change from the original already approved, we do need 5 votes for this one.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the change orders? Roll call vote.
Maggie,
Prior to me making my vote, I appreciate what Mr. Cumbo has said and what Mr. Sinkowitz has said, and I think I made my point how I feel about the building, et cetera, so I will vote yes.
Kaznecki,
Yes.
Kumbo,
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
I too, with a heavy heart, will vote yes.
McGee.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, council. Thank you, Pat. And thank you, Ed.
If I could ask council one more thing. My last paragraph in the letter identifies a problem that we're having in keeping this project going. Most, if not all, the projects, the site work project, the engineering projects, I typically request some contingency consideration. In this particular case, the award was given to the contractor at his bid price, and he didn't take into account some miscellaneous little stuff that happens along the way. Therefore, the administration, Sharon, did not have the ability to make some decisions to keep the project going. Hence, we appreciated some delays in the project. My request, my suggestion of council is to, again, amend the project to provide for a 5% contingency fee of about $15,000 so that if we run into something during the project, it doesn't have to stop until your next council meeting. Gives Sharon some leeway in order to keep the project moving. Certainly no major changes, it's just things that come along the way that might come up. Let's just say they find another wall with rot in it, and they can't go forward. It would be a shame to wait till the November meeting to have any more work done on the project. So I'd like the council to at least consider that option.
All right. Do I hear a motion to add a $15,000 contingency budget to the project?
So move.
Support.
Motion Kaznecki, second Nedrow. Further discussion?
Do you think, Mike, that $15,000 is going to be enough? Because we already, how many, $5,000 or $6,000 over the original budget?
Ends up, yeah,
All
a
right.
little over 4,000, and I can't even, I was even down at the 10,000, but the
Okay.
5% came out pretty evenly, close to that 15,000, and I would be very shocked, quite frankly, if we approached 15,000.
I just hate to have to go back over it again, to increase the budget again. If there's, there may be unforeseen things, you're right. You
Well,
never know what's gonna
The
happen.
thing is, with what we're doing here, as a contractor, I can understand what happens when you have a project in the
Yeah.
works and you'd have to stall, okay?
True.
As a contractor, you're gonna end up getting extras because now you're having to hold up your workforce. I mean, you can't just stop on a project like that and not incur costs. So it's a matter at that point of what's gonna be more equitable for the village. So I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, we're saying we're gonna increase the budget that we already have. It's not a budget, it's not an increase in contract order to the contractor, it's just the internal budget to make sure we have that much more money. I can agree with that.
And it's not that they can, as I understand it.
It's not a free check.
Yeah, they have to bring it back
Yep.
to the
Yeah,
administrator.
Yeah, on behalf of, you have
Yeah.
to prove that.
Just enables the project to keep going for some
Correct.
unforeseen little issue.
And hopefully adhere to the schedule that Mr.
Correct.
Maggie had asked for and they finally supplied to us, so I think it's a good idea.
How do we do that?
All right. I believe we have the motion on the floor, so any further discussion on the motion? Roll call vote?
Kaznecki?
Yes.
Humbo?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Sinkwitz?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Maggie?
Yes.
Thank you, council. Okay, that brings us to number 9, grinder pump generator receptacle panel order, $3,018.75.
I can discuss that. If you recall, council, when we first started the grinder pump project, we ended up, we thought maybe half the people might want grinder pump receptacles with the generator receptacle right in it. We were wrong at that time, and we sent half of those back. This year, we've probably put more in this year than we did the entire rest of the project, and so we've gone through our generator receptacle control panels. We have no more left for the residents, and so this is a request to buy 5 additional grinder pump receptacle panels so that if the electricity goes out, they can plug their generator right into it and they don't have to run it through their whole house generator. As a note, and I kind of gave it away in my last sentence, more and more of your residents are putting in whole house generators, and we're very surprised about that, but a large number of people are putting in the generators, run their whole house, and then they obviously don't need one of these. So, but we believe 5 more will carry us for the next year.
Mike, I got a quick question. On a typical village street, if you were at the end of the street and you were the only one that had a generator, would that be enough to push the effluent?
It is. However, it's not enough to push it all the way from your house all the way to the main.
Right.
It is enough to push it in within a 24-hour period, however. So the pump goes off and pushes 60 gallons at a time, pushes it down the line.
Okay.
A normal house uses about 350 gallons, and that's just about 1,000 feet of pipe. And so eventually it would get out in the main where the main force
Yeah,
main would take it.
for it to work under its normal performance, you need probably at least a good quarter or a third of the residents functioning.
That's correct. We would only be concerned if that sewage sat in that pipe for about a week, and then it starts going septic, much like what happens in your septic tank, and that's not what you want to have happen in a sewer.
Thank you.
We haven't had any instances like that happen.
We have not, none whatsoever.
Follow up on that, like then, so it would have to be, the power would be out neighborhood-wide for 5 days or so before there'd be an issue.
That is correct.
Thank
You
you.
use our toilets. I make a motion to approve that amount of $3,018.75 for the grinder pump generator receptacle panel order.
At support.
Motion Sinkowitz, second Nagy. Further discussion?
Just a question, and that's money we will, like, we're
Get
buying
back.
inventory.
Recoup
pretty much,
back.
right?
Yep, yes. It's inventory, we get back.
What's the availability of these things, Mike? You didn't provide the quote.
When
Is this
would
a,
we
uh,
receive
shit
them?
stock? Is it stock from the supplier?
It is in stock at the supplier.
Okay. Do they hold them and we just get them, or do we bring them?
We bring them here so we can deliver them to the homeowner as soon as they pay their fee.
All right,
Correct.
thank you.
All right, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait, no, sorry, roll call vote.
Gotcha now.
Humble?
Yes.
Pedro?
Yes.
Sinkwitz?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Maggie?
Yep.
Kaznowski?
Yes.
Thank you, council, very much.
All right, actually, I have one quick update for council on another engineering item, as you might remember, the issue of the ditch in Mr. Caceres. We sent it to admin committee. Admin has looked at it, we walked the ditch, we inspected the property, we talked with the engineer for quite a while. To be honest, we saw things in the restoration, both there and some other places that we weren't happy with. We've talked about establishing a standard for what ditch restoration should be, where it should be, where the restoration is adequate, where it isn't, what might need to be covered, where we formerly had empty swale. If we change the road bed, things change around that ditch line. We've got the engineer doing a survey, the length of the construction, to find out exactly what we have and where things were changed and where they're okay, where they're not. And we're gonna meet again this month, and we'll have more back for the council on that. I think that's it for engineering items.
Yeah.
All right, request from Captain Ellsworth to send officer lists to the Police Academy Basic Detective School.
Thank you, sir.
We want everybody to know they're not gonna get away with anything.
That's right.
With Detective Becky on the case.
Actually, each of our officers are going to be going through this. I believe Officer List is the last one to attend the basic detective school. We sent Officer Ayers last year. Officer Morosco went 3 years ago. I've been. Sergeant Cunningham might not have been. But I feel it's important that they learn all of these techniques that they can learn in this school, because we do everything from beginning to end. We don't have a detective bureau to turn it over to. And it's a very good school. It's very, I think it's needed for departments of this size.
Do I hear a motion?
Make a
From our
motion.
From our police chief, I would make a motion to send Officer List to the Oakland Police Academy Basic Detective School at a cost of $450. Part of budgeted fund.
Motion Sinkowitz, second Nagy. Further discussion? Yeah, I think it's an excellent school, and we've gotten a lot of benefit from that training. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We don't have to have a roll call vote
Budgeted.
It was,
because it's
oh, well,
budgeted amount.
yeah, we should get, there was a dollar sign there, sorry.
All right.
I'm running forward. Thanks for catching me. Let's get a roll call vote.
Pedro?
Yes.
Sinkwitz?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Maggie?
Yes.
Kaznowski?
Yes.
Humble?
Yes.
Thank you, council.
Sorry, Mr. President.
Nope, you were totally correct. DIA Inside Out Project. I'm gonna hand this one over to the administrator to.
And I
introduce.
might add Rod Cumbo to help me with this. You remember last year, we were approached by one of our residents that was working with Walled Lake, the city of Walled Lake. And they actually were chosen by the DIA to have the artwork placed around their city. And Walled Lake asked us to piggyback on that, but we were not accepted. So this year, This is an application for us, the village, to participate in the Inside Out project through the DIA. And that's where they actually put different paintings around the village and display them. And there's an application to be filled out, and I think last year we talked about Park and Rec doing it, but since we didn't receive this until like last week
Yeah.
from Valerie Kemp, that I wasn't aware of it. So it's kind of late to send to Park and Rec, so I don't mind filling out this application. There's no cost, and I think it's a good idea. You can place them around, my suggestion would be around where our pathway goes, you know, to the dam, to our walkways, to the park, Village Hall. You know, hopefully when this is underway, our village will be renovated and people can get to it. They're supposed to be able to get to these paintings to actually see them, so. Ron, do you have any more to add on that?
Not really, I mean, it's, there is a cost to individual businesses if they want to have like a mural on the side of their building or something like this. But in terms of village costs, there, you're right, I don't believe there is a cost to apply or to participate.
Right.
And what it is, they're replicas of famous paintings throughout the ages that are, that can be displayed a half dozen or so at different locations in the village.
Right.
And it can generate like a walk around to see these different, where they're spotted or something like that. And, you know, it's just basically bringing some art, some color, some, you know, fine arts, some culture. Thank
to the
you.
village.
Thank you to the village. And it's a great outreach from the DIA to the surrounding communities. And I think it's a great idea to participate if we're chosen again. But I think it's well worth our while to send in an application and see if we're selected. There's 2 seasons for it, one in the winter, one in the summer. And being on the lake, and there is a lot of, especially on the nice days, a lot of traffic, pedestrian, or certainly on the snow machines and so on, traffic during the winter. But ideally, I think the summer season would be just perfect. If we could somehow capture that season, have it in the park and some places around the lake, it'd be great.
So we can request whether we want to do it spring or summer, is that how?
Yes,
it is?
we can, but
We
again,
can.
it's, you know, you
First
throw
or
it.
second choice,
Yeah, it's,
Okay,
they determine.
they determine.
okay.
Yeah, if you're selected and,
If
I mean,
so,
we
which
can-
season you get.
yes.
Yeah, we'll see what we get.
Yes.
I don't know if other people saw the installations
Yeah.
down in Walled Lake,
Yeah,
but they
I
were
did.
cool. They were really
Yeah.
neat.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea.
Dearborn has it too, and it's really sharp. It's high quality, like they look like the real thing. It's incredible.
Okay, do I hear a motion to have the village apply to, the DIA Inside Out program?
I'll make that motion.
I support that.
Motion Cumbo, second Nagy. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Super,
Thank you, Council.
super.
All right. GHI, second call to public, opportunity for citizens to address the council regarding any and all village business. We'll go Mr. Stack first.
Mike Stack, 701 Laguna. And thank you, John and Ron, for calling out those no votes. I had a couple people that asked me if there was a problem with the contractor. And I said, not that I was aware of, so hopefully they watch this tonight and they got the explanation versus me giving them my explanation.
Good, hope so.
And vote for Ron Cumbo.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very
All
much.
right, anybody else? Yeah.
Rick Casera, 1380 Apple Orchard. I guess I came here a few months ago to start talking about a ditch and started watching what's going on in the council and kind of, it seems like we don't have money to fix the ditches and do the road project properly, but when the council brings something up about extending a walkway to the new workout center, you guys had no problem not exceeding $2,500 in 10 minutes. Tonight, we talk about putting the little brick wall down by the bike path because a council member brought that up, and that'll probably be done tomorrow. It's time to start listening to the other people. We live here too, okay? All you people on this council, you get what you want. Ed brings up, wants a walkway, and you guys had no problem spending that money. You ruined my yard down here, and you want me to pay to fix it. It's just awful. So, look around. I know you all have pet peeves, that's why you have your pet projects, and that's why you're here, and you guys walk them all through. But look at everybody else, we all live here too and pay taxes. And we like our yards nice too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else second call? Seeing none, I will close the second call to the public. And as I said, we're still working on that in the admin committee. I know the pace of it is not gonna make you happy, but,
Just give me what I deserve.
yep. All right. Item K, recommendation from Water Management Board. Water Management Board recommends council release $500 to use live bacteria pellets in a canal test area to reduce muck. We don't have Mr. Scott or Cliff here, but we do have Tony. So Tony Swedich from the Water Board, come on up and explain what this is about.
Okay, well, as you all know, we're addressing a lot of issues on the muck on the lake and some areas with aeration. Somebody had brought up recently about the canals. We haven't looked at new technologies or old ways of dealing with some of the muck in the canals. So what we're doing right now is we're actually doing some research on companies that do dredging. I know we looked at that a long time ago. It was incredibly expensive, but we're looking at that once again, and we're going to get some more information about that. Something new we found about taking care of the canals would be us to self-dredge, almost like owning a harvester. There's actually communities that have bought this equipment and dredge themselves. I'm sure that's going to be an incredibly expensive option, but I'm just trying to give you guys a flavor. We are looking at everything just to get the information. One of the things that came up in our discussion was we thought it would be a great idea to try some of those pellets that are used to reduce the muck. Some people, I think, have actually used them on their own, but we wanted some kind of test case scenario where we could ensure that it worked or didn't. And if it does work, we'd like to expand it to maybe larger areas of the canal area. Our plan right now would be is to get with the pond guy, identify the product that they specify would be the best for us to test, use it on a small portion of the canal, and come up with a measurement system that we could accurately identify how it worked. We'd like to use that in an area that's by Scott Lewis's house, because he lives on the canal. He's someone who could monitor for us because he's on the water board with us. And we estimate that the cost would be around $500 to do this.
What kind of time were you talking about putting it in spring? Or is
Well,
that-
no, the reason that we're here with you today right now is because we were concerned that when we talk to the pond guy, he might say we need to put something in right now.
Okay.
We might not actually spend the money right now this minute. We might actually, once we talk to him, he might say that it'd be better to do it in spring.
Okay.
But we wanted to make sure that we got the funding approved now in case we do go to him and he says, hey, you need to do this right now.
And I don't know is this out of the general lake improvement budget, the budget
Yes.
item?
Well, no, specifically it would be the lake restoration budget.
Lake restoration
Included in
budget.
that is aeration and now the utility charges for the diffusers and so forth, so that would be part of that.
Mr. President,
Yep.
when I talked with the lake consultant some while back ago, and we all talked here at the meeting, I don't think putting that in the canal is a good idea, simply because if it works, if it doesn't work, all it takes is one boat to come by and turn its motor around, and it'll blow all that loose muck right where it's been decaying for months, and because the whole bottom is just suspended muck. I was under the impression we were gonna find a part on the lake, just like the end of Oakview, where no boats go in and out and nobody swims, or at the end of some place where it doesn't get agitated, and see what it does to the muck.
Well, we discussed doing it on an area of the canal that would be long enough that at least the water board felt that it would be a long enough distance that disruption, because nobody's doing high-speed boating through there. It's very slow, but we should be able to identify a reduction.
But as long as you have boat traffic going up and down and through there, and it's, high speed probably does less than low speed, because if you're trying to turn the boat around or park it, you move the motor, you go reverse, you go forward, and all that, you know what the bottom of that canal's like.
Oh, yeah.
It's just all loose, so you could pull ahead 5 feet and blow a half a yard of muck right back on everything you just tested. And I think that the key to find out if this stuff works is to put it someplace where there is no intrusion of boats or human beings. And I I'm for the idea, I'm just not for the location. And I don't think it necessarily has to be on the canal, it can be in the lake, but we wanna know, does this stuff really eat up muck?
Well, the canal area, at least like I said, the water board, we felt that it was gonna be a better opportunity because it was such a limited area and that we could spread it far enough, like I said, that the boats going through shouldn't disrupt that muck enough for us to cover over an area that it might be successful in.
Yeah, I think, I wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't mind
an
it.
experiment of some sort in the canals, but I think what I'd like to maybe see before we go forward and, you know, authorize and spend
Mhm.
is a little bit more input from our lake consultant as to, like, you know, best time to put this in, same with the pond guy. Right now strikes me as possibly not the best time when we're just about to go into ice over, but I could be wrong. Maybe the science says, yeah, you want to put it in right before ice over, but also a little bit more backing on what measurements are we using, where are we doing it, and let's make sure it's a good survey. You know, we don't have to go maybe quite as far as we want with aeration, but I'd like to see us get a little bit more information about what we've got, and then we can go ahead and authorize and spend.
Well, we could do that, but like I said, our thought was that we're gonna be doing that in the next couple of weeks. And if we go and talk to the pond guy and he says, hey, you really need to do this now, we're not gonna be able to do it, and we'll have to wait till next year. So that's,
Then maybe wait till next year.
okay.
Go ahead, Ron, then.
Going back to the joint meeting we had with Water Board, that was the issue of the condition of the canals was brought up more than once. They're very concerned, the situation's getting worse, and I kind of agree with that in the sense that it'd be nice if it was in as abandoned a spot as possible. But I agree with that part of his comments. Given that it was a unanimous vote from a board heavily scientific, science knowledgeable, way more than I am, and I was liaison to that board, and limited amount of money we're talking about, I think that's a good idea to move forward with it. I mean, maybe not right in front of the first house you're talking about, but if the pond guy company is in agreement with this, that we go now, moving now, and the board is unanimous in moving now, I think we should try it. We should support their efforts.
And we definitely will go to the pond guy and ask him your concerns, Ed, you know, hey, if this area
Yeah.
is like this. He told us, hey, you know what, you're wasting your time, it's a waste of money, I wouldn't do this way. Or it doesn't matter till spring, we would wait till spring.
Because that topic was brought up when we were talking, and John brought it up with the aeration, and he said how you can use these pellets and everything like that. And I guess, you know, we just, you know, it's just a secluded area would probably be the best test than in some place where, you know, a boat could have came in and blown some away, or put it back in, or whatever, but.
Well, maybe when we talk
I
to the
don't know,
pond guy,
really-
maybe at the end of the canal might be a better spot.
Yeah,
Not a
or-
place where any of the boats go
It
through,
doesn't
like the
have to
very.
be in the canal. Because the canal is so narrow, it gets a lot of traffic, and when that canal was dredged, the DNR told them you can only dredge so far, and unless you want the dredgings up on your lawn, which nobody wanted, you gotta put it and pile it into the wetlands. And they limited how much they could take out and how wide they could go. So I would think if you were ever to get a permit now, it would have to be where you took it away or put it on your lawns.
Well, now we're talking dredging though,
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it
Right.
would be
But the-
hydraulically dredged where they
Yeah.
pump it out and they put it in a big, huge bag. And the water seeps out, and then they take the muck away, and then they fill the bag up, and it's.
That's all the people that we're talking to now, getting
Yeah.
that information.
It's a
But we'll have
slow
more
process,
information to
but
come back with that
I
later.
think- I think to prove whether or not that product works, the key is to be in a secluded area where it's not affected by man.
Well, I don't know, I would think for a good test, actually, what you need is, you need a control site, and, you know, maybe you need a secluded site, but I think you also need a real-world site that is under whatever the conditions are for the rest of the, like, because if we did it in a secluded site, said, hey, look, it works in the secluded site, and then I don't want to go and then spend, a lot of extra money and find out that it doesn't work where all the people actually are, because that's the place where we want it to work. Having said all that, let me go to Pat, because I think you had asked to speak earlier, and I think we all just
Thank you.
talked over you.
That's right, no problem. I think Ed has a good point about letting secluded, well, an isolated spot. But there's the area of the canal where you can, that there's a cutoff. It's like you got that little island of reeds in the middle. Okay, then
Yeah.
you have it goes along the shoreline. You could, if there's a way to isolate that off with the yellow caution tape or whatever, and try to that area right there. I don't know how many people I've cut through there, but everybody didn't have to go through there, number one. And number two, how do you measure what muck is there now, and how do we know how much we're gonna really reduce the muck? And I think not only the pond guy, we need, as Mr. McGee said, we need to talk to the lake consultant and get both the guys' opinions before we even move ahead on it. So I think we ought to go ahead and approve the money and be ready if everybody says, yeah, do it. But I think the lake consultant has to have their 2 cents in this thing too, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is some reason to that. Small amount, it's
Right.
in that budget area.
I mean, I can assure you, if you guys approve this small amount, we're gonna go to the pond guy, we're gonna ask him if this makes sense. We'll talk to the consultant, and if either one of them say this isn't the right time of the year to do it, or it doesn't make sense to do it here, we wouldn't move forward with it.
Yeah,
We
I
just
just
wanna
wanna
make
see
sure
a-
that we're ready to go if he does come to us and says, hey, this makes sense.
Yeah, if we're gonna do this as a pilot, I just wanna make sure that we have a well-designed pilot, so that if we see that it works, we have a good basis for then expanding it. Or if we don't see that it works, we actually then are reasonably confident, yeah, you know what, we tried it, it didn't work.
So we have to know what it was before and what it is afterwards. How are you gonna make that measurement
Right.
of muck?
Well,
prior
Cliff's
to
got a
and
couple
after?
of items he was talking about utilizing. That disc thing, I think,
The
he
session
talked
disc.
about. Yeah, there was a couple of different items like that they were
Yeah, the
looking
second
at.
desk might not be for the muck, but
Well,
there are ways,
For clarity of
I think,
water.
Right, but there was
Yeah.
some way he was gonna use that, I think,
I
because
think
of the way.
we have to make sure we have the before and after, wherever we decide to do it, so you can see the results.
Right.
okay, I think we've expressed a good deal of
Yeah.
all our concerns. Tony will bring that back to the board.
Yep.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we grant the $500 that the Water Management Board wants for this study, but we want to make sure that our applicator and our progressive, our lake consultant agree with the location and the amount and when.
So, Ed, let me
Clean
restate
it
that
up.
for a second, because I think you said the applicator, and I think what you really meant was the pond guy and the
Yeah.
consultant.
Yeah.
Right. So motion to approve spending up to $500 on a test of bacteria pellets with the condition that the water board consults with pond guy and our lake consultant.
I would second that motion.
So, second, Cumbo. Further discussion? Roll call vote?
Sinkowitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Maggie.
Yep.
Kaznecki.
Yes.
Cumbo.
Yes.
Redrow.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, council. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Tom.
All right. H-I-J-K-L, Village Appreciation Dinner, and we have not yet scheduled or done a Village Appreciation Dinner.
I asked Sharon to put that on the agenda to talk about it. If we wanted to do something this year, it would probably have to be either in the latter part of November, which is usually always that Thanksgiving rush, or the first part of December. And we can do it during the week. And the last two we had, I was involved with putting it together. I think there's numerous restaurants that we could go and check around. The one here in the village and the uptown, and a few of them to see what's available. I guess it's before any of that gets done, if what's council's pleasure. Do we want to have an appreciation dinner?
I'd like to have an appreciation dinner.
I think the first part of December would work, the first week.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's early enough in the holiday season that it's, long traveling.
As long as we don't serve turkey.
Probably a good idea at that point. Yeah, I don't have any particular preference for where we do it. I thought the Uptown's been good. If if Kaya
Yeah.
does have the facility up and running now, that might be a good place to do it. I'd like to support a village business if we can. when we
I
do that.
agree.
Yeah, well, I think that in mind and also what the costs are, you know, so last time I was under the impression they weren't ready for that, but they might be now, I don't know. But if council wants me to pursue with this and pick out a date, I will. If they want somebody else to do it or have our administrator do all this. What's that?
I don't mind checking into it, and I think we should check with Kaya. They are redoing their lower level, and they expect to have it done soon, but I don't have a definite date on that yet. But I like using village business when we can.
Put an
They
addition on the
donated a lot.
Glengarry.
They donated a lot at Village Festival as well.
They did,
Mhm.
to
They
the
did a
Village
great job on the
Festival
cruise,
and Taste of the Lakes, and, yes,
Yep.
that's right. The boat dinner, they gave us money off for that, so.
If we could fit us in the Glengarry, I'd
I
entertain the
would
Glengarry
think that
too,
would be
but,
the first choice, you know, as long
Yeah.
as they're in the ballpark, you know, a few bucks one way or another isn't gonna make any difference if they're ready, but if you want, Sharon, I can help you with that, you know, picking out, looking at, whatever.
Okay, so, do I hear a motion to hold the Village Appreciation Dinner in early December
Early December, at a venue to be.
at a venue to be determined?
Determined.
Because there's other businesses
But
that serve food in there.
in lieu of.
There are.
Also, then what we need to do is, right now, tell all of our boards, our chair people, to find out, get a head count. How many people from each board will be coming with the spouse, girlfriend, husband,
I
wife?
think probably we need to have a date
Need to nail
before we
down a
can,
date
before we
first,
can get a
right?
count.
We have to set a date and then send out an invitation and get a RSVP.
I mean,
by
you know,
a
we can
certain
go
date.
with an approximate count based on what we've had for previous
Mhm.
years.
Yeah, we can look at that.
Okay.
It's usually
60
60
something.
to 75, I think.
Sounds good. Okay,
All right,
So-
further discussion on that one?
I don't think you had a
I
second.
don't think you had a motion.
You have a
Oh, I
motion,
didn't have a
right?
second. Sorry, I had a second from, who did I have a, did I have a second? Did I have a motion?
No, I'm.
So we had the motion from Sinkowitz,
Early
do I
December.
have a second?
Second.
Second from Nagy.
There we go.
Thank you. Motion Sinkowitz, second Nagy, further discussion.
Just to be clear, it's just, the motion is just to have the dinner in early December.
Yep.
End of story, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Have it in early December, and then at the next meeting, we'll have a location and a date and can prove beyond. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, set topics for the October 22nd, 2014 work session. We have discussed this already as having a public hearing regarding neighborhood parks. So do I hear a motion to set the October 22nd work session as a public hearing regarding neighborhood parks?
I'll make that motion, but, I'll make that motion.
Motion Cumbo, do I hear a second?
I'll second
Second Kaznecky,
That being said,
discussion.
I thought that was set already, but that's on, we had kind of
We
decided we would.
talked about it, but usually at this meeting, you
would
set your
actually
topic.
formally
We
set it.
formally said it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we had said that was our intention, but I don't
Right.
think we had I don't recall if we formally said it.
But I think it's a good idea, we want to bring,
Yeah, I mean, I think in that previous discussion we had, we just found that we'd gotten cart ahead of the horse a little bit.
Yeah.
In just discussing that little bit of paving, which I think is probably smart and probably supports it and would have been reasonable, but, you know, we don't want to get too far out ahead of the neighborhoods and neighborhood parks, and it's really, you know, we're getting close to being able to implement, so it really is time to get some more public input.
I agree.
I just, as a suggestion or as a thought, I don't know if I know we want to get this done, we talked about it before, if there's any need to wait till we get a new council in place before we might have 2 or 3 new members, who knows, to get their input instead of trying to do something, as long as we don't make any decisions, but I mean, just a thought about
It would be
having.
hard to get 2 or 3 new ones.
Well, okay.
Given
Well, you know-
given-
you know
given the
what I'm
lineup on the
saying.
ballot,
New one.
I would encourage
that's the-
Mr. Stack and Mr. Duff to attend
Attend, okay.
that meeting and find out what
That's fair
we've
enough.
got.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of council people.
Yeah, I
Return.
reelected, that's true, I understand it, I just.
Okay, any further discussion of that motion? All in favor, wait, did I actually get a motion that time? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
You got a second.
Sorry, I'm just not sharp procedurally tonight. I got a motion, I got a second. I think that's what it is. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'm having a Joaquin Soria kind of meeting.
Again?
Or a Joe Chamberlain kind of meeting, or a Phil Coke kind of meeting, or a Joe Nathan kind of meeting, or is there anybody else on that bullpen I can
At
rail
least you're
on?
not the Lions field goal kicker.
Get the guy out of rehab. You'll do fine, just stay away from.
God, and I've kicked, and God, they're terrible. Okay, let's not talk about the Lions kicker. Pending business, I think can pend. Update from,
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I had brought up the last time was in minutes about maybe doing something relative to this electronic meeting communication and having better stuff for the audience who out there. It's what we can do. I know we got it as pending. I don't know if that's something that should go before the administration committee or something, but I think it's something we ought to think about instead of just keep pending it and pending it and pending it since I brought it up at the last meeting. I just think it'd be better, more advantageous. I watched the joint meeting. I was sick with the water board, and our cameraman tried to get things focused and tried to show you, but things of that nature so people can see. We're sitting here looking at a piece of paper or a map or a drawing, and the audience doesn't see it, and the people online don't always see it. I just think it's something to enhance our communication with our residents.
you know
okay?
what, and we have a funding source specially dedicated to it that we talked about at the last admin
That's
meeting.
another reason.
The West Oakland County Cable Authority.
Yeah.
Monies that's specifically for electronic communications.
I think we need to look
I'd
into-
entertain a motion to send that to admin for review and recommendation.
Since I brought it up, I'll make that motion.
Motion Nagy, do I hear a second? Second Kaznecky, further discussion?
Sure, last chance.
All right, we'll take a look and see what, if anything, makes sense and what funding source might be found for it.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Nope, that's update from Captain Ellsworth.
I think my update was fireworks. Don't forget Thanksgiving, or Halloween is coming up, and daylight savings time will be right afterwards, so remember that the hours are the same, Be safe, don't have quite a few guys out here,
How many do you usually have patrolling on Halloween?
so 6 to 8.
In costume or in uniform?
Yeah. On a bicycle?
That is their
On other days, it is their costume, but at this time, we can call them uniforms, so.
Okay.
Update from the treasurer.
No news here, Mr. President.
Update from the administrator.
We have started the lake drawdown. You've probably noticed it's been high most of the summer, and we're starting to draw down. The work for the underground storage tanks is going to start again next week. So not only do we have construction going on, we will be working in the 3 backyards with the ground penetrating radar, which locates all the subsurface utilities or any items back there before we actually do the drilling for the samples. So that'll be next week. And the long-awaited Helmsford pump house has been turned into an augmentation well. And it was a lot more work than I think probably any of you realize. There's pictures of the progress, and if you go down there, you'll see
Yeah.
when it's turned on. It's
I
not
saw
turned on right
down
now,
there
but you'll
digging in the
see
bottom of the trench.
water.
It's
But,
interesting.
you know, coming out
That's
the end
cool.
into the canal, so I think that'll be a nice addition. The guys had to actually do a lot of tree removal and groundwork preparation, and when you look at these pictures, they're standing in this
Deep trench. Yes.
Yeah.
trench.
Yes.
It was a big project. I think a lot of people thought it was just hook a piece of PVC pipe to the pump
Stick a
house
garden hose out the
and
end.
run it down the end of the
No.
canal, and they did a really good job, and it's been seeded, and it's gonna be a nice area.
So we're gonna use it come springtime, then, that's the plan?
If we need to
If
turn
needed.
water on.
Okay. Well, I think with the augmentation, we was also gonna put some more air into the
Right.
canal.
But if we have too much water, you know, it's
Yeah.
hard to put
Drain
more
it off.
water in just to put
Drain
it
it off.
in. So, that's all I have.
Alrighty. Council comments, let's start down on this side this month.
Just want to remind everybody, we have a packing party coming up for the troops on the 18th.
Yep.
Over at Shepherd Lakes. And that's probably going to be, what, 9 o'clock, 9:30?
Yeah,
9:30?
don't get there late, 'cause you won't
It'll be
have
done,
boxes.
yeah,
No,
it was
it's
done
fast.
about an hour and a half last year. So.
We've got almost 500 boxes in an hour and a half, and they're all, everything is done. It's incredible.
We start at 9, right?
About
Get
9,
there at
9:30.
8.
I think it starts at 9, but I always get there at 8:30, especially my box makers.
6:30.
You guys will be there at 6:30? Very good. See you at 8:30.
We'll be
Bring your
done.
donuts. Don't forget the donuts.
All right, Sinkowitz?
Just, everybody have a safe and enjoyable Halloween, and see you at the next meeting.
Gumbo.
I guess a couple of things, despite me not speaking up when it was new candidate time, I am running, and I hope to be elected, and I've enjoyed my time on here in case I'm not re-elected, but I hope I am. Secondly, I want to thank Pam because she's not running. I want to thank her for her service. It's been a pleasure working with her, and it's been a nice spot for me next to her, so wish her well.
Thank you.
Kaznicki.
Okay, yeah, I do have a few things to say. It is my last meeting, my last council meeting, although there is a work session, I will be there. First of all, I want to thank my friends. They were the ones that encouraged me to consider running and did all the legwork and all the filing and getting signatures and petitions and went with me to file. So I want to thank them. Then I want to thank the residents of the village. Thank you for having the confidence or trust in voting for me for 4 years. I have truly enjoyed 99% of it. It's been fun. It's been a great learning experience. It's been very fulfilling because I ran because at the time I was retired for the first time, and I had a lot of time on my hands, and I wanted to give back service, to the village because I've always loved living in this village, and felt I've always been a part of a culture that to those much has been given, much is expected. So service, in other words, somewhere in your life, God has been very good, and you need to give back. So, and then thirdly, I want to thank Sharon, John McGee, Captain Ellsworth, Engineer Powell, Mike Condrek, and Jennifer, specifically for all your encouragement, your kindness, and your patience, especially in the beginning. I had a lot to learn, and I also want to thank all the council members for their hard work, their professionalism, and their kindness to me. And I will miss being here, but it was a very conscious decision. When I first came, I had no grandchildren. Now I have 2.5. So, and I want to spend more time with them. So, and I'm done with that. And I just wanted to say congratulations, Captain Ellsworth, to all your officers, all the recognitions that you gave me today. Reading them in the council packet, it was very heartfelt. And I'm glad that we have an opportunity to thank them publicly, and especially now with the video. I think that's really nice that everybody in the village sees that. So, thank you. I will still be around. I may sit up there where Mike is sitting. Thank you.
Yes, Pam. We enjoyed your time on the council. I enjoyed my time sitting next to me. And over the years, we've had a couple disagreements, but everybody's an individual, okay? Yes, to Captain Ellsworth and his men, I happened to see the dash cam video and officer errors and how professionalism, and it was good to see. And the rewards, and one other thing is Halloween's coming, but I passed some of these around if everybody could stop by and see Chi-Town Union Station. I volunteer down there. I know it's not council business, but it's the world's largest O-scale layout. And we have 10,000 feet of track down, and we open up the 1st November. We open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through the 1st of March. But it's a lot of fun to bring the little kids around, and got 30-some trains running, and it's enjoyable. I'm like a little kid when I go there, okay? Thank you.
All right, and then to me, first off, I do want to also thank Pam for her time on council. It's been a pleasure having you. When you arrived, you had a lot to learn, but you dug in, you learned it, and that matters. You did a good job over there. Second of all, yes, I am on the ballot. Please, their internet audience at home, I would appreciate your vote. Lawn signs available at my garage. And, you never know how elections are going to go. You never know what's going to happen. So in case it doesn't go well, I just want to say thank you to everybody, council members present and past, employees present and past, that I've had the privilege of working with over the last 8 years as council president, the previous year as a council member, and the previous 5 years as chair of the Water Management Board. People think that sometimes people get on council because they've got a pet project or something they want to see done, or an axe to grind. And I guess I did have my own pet project too, which was, at the time I decided to run for a full term and run for council president, this village was in serious financial trouble. And we were having, discussions along the lines of, should we disincorporate? Can we be a village? Does it make sense to have a village? Can we have a police department at all? And that really bothered me because it's such a great community and it's such a great village. And I wanted to see us be able to stay and be a good village and be a nice place to live. And that's been my pet project for the last 8 years. And I like to think it's gone pretty well. So with that,
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion Sinkowitz, second Nedrow. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.